Okay, the mayor's called the meeting to order. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo. Here. Councilmember Erin Delaney,
Sorry, here.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Here.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Here.
Okay, we have 5 ayes, which means a quorum is present for this regular meeting of the Garfield City Council, which is being held today, which is Tuesday, October the 8th, 2019. This regular meeting is being held in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided by mail, facsimile, and email to the official city newspapers and to other interested parties, and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin boards in City Hall. If everyone would please rise, we'd like to begin with the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. We'd like to call for a moment of silent reflection in consideration of all the council members, mayors, city managers, and other city officials who have passed away over the years and who have given a generous portion of their precious lifetime in service to our city. Thank you. Thank you.
Very nice.
I'll say it. Okay, Mr. Mayor, communications and appointments.
Yes, please.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the mayor has made the following appointments to the Planning Board. Mr. Jack LeBou, 52 Prospect Street, has been appointed as a Class 4 member for the unexpired 4-year term, effective immediately to succeed Richard Derrick. Said term to expire January 1st, 2022. Also, in accordance with the power conferred upon him, the mayor has also appointed Peter Santa Croce of 77 Irving Place as first alternate to the Planning Board, effective immediately for the unexpired term to succeed Jack LeBou. Said term to expire January 1st, 2020. And also he has appointed Constantino Conti of 103 Maitland Place as second alternate to the Planning Board, effective immediately to succeed Peter Santa Croce for the unexpired term, said term to expire January 1st, 2020. Thank you. Proceed with resolutions.
Please.
Okay. We have, the very first 2 resolutions have 5 signatures on them, so if there's no objection, I'll take one roll call vote on those resolutions. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Erin Delaney.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 5 ayes. We have a resolution authorizing the City of Garfield to contract with Ritchie Planning for the preparation of a redevelopment plan for property commonly known as 290 River Drive, Block 50.01, Lot 1, Garfield, New Jersey. The resolution is signed by Council Members Joseph Delaney, Erin Delaney, and Rigoloso. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Mayor, through you, this resolution, did we have anything that was given to us with regard to what this is? I mean, this is the Kalama property? Is that the location?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's great. It's already, but isn't it already in a redevelopment zone?
So, if I may, I'm sorry.
Yes, you may. Go ahead.
So, this property already had a redevelopment plan. Apparently, the redevelopment plan is unworkable because no redeveloper wants to come in and work within that plan. It's either archaic at this point or just, that bus already went by. So, we need to look at it again. And the process, I believe the process is better served if we started here than refer it to the planning board to do this, because it can be done either way. I suggested to Mr. Regan at the redevelopment council, special counsel, that we handle it, hire the planner, and take a look at the area to come up with a proposal, because ultimately it's our ordinance that becomes the plan. So let's make it our ordinance, then we'll send it to the planning board for them to look at it in their comments, and then send it back to us, and we'll adopt as we see fit. So, I mean, nothing's going to get done here unless we start this process, because the plan in effect right now doesn't work.
Okay, I respect that. The question is, why did we pick that planner? What was the discussion? What are we looking for? I mean, did I miss communications as to who this is?
The planner was recommended by Frank Regan, Special Counsel to the Redevelopment Agency. It had been brought up at one of the council meetings that the planner that was used in the last application, some people felt that maybe he could have been more deferential to our citizens, so we're going to try somebody else. Mr. Regan began as a planner, and then ultimately from being a planner went on to law school. So he's a great redevelopment attorney, he's a great asset, and this was his recommendation.
Because usually the procedure is we send it to the planning board does the study, they send it back to us. If we approve, we send it to the redevelopment agency.
So that procedure is a procedure that's always used to determine whether the property should even be an area of redevelopment.
Which it is.
But who decides to create the plan? It could come from either place. I personally prefer it start here, this way you have control over it, and then you then send what you believe is the right plan to the planning board and have them comment back. Otherwise, you won't be creating the bones of the plan yourself. And I just think it's since this is a big thing for the city.
So we're going to hold the hearings. We're going to do everything with regard to.
We're going to talk with the planner, whomever you select, about, it's a process, about coming up with the plan. I mean, we should get drafts, we'll get a presentation, we should be able to make comments, review the draft, and come up with something that ultimately is our baby that we send over for adoption by the planning board.
Okay.
Who is the owner now? Is it still Mark Shavitz from Paragon Realty?
I don't know who the owner of record is. There was a resolution passed by the redevelopment agency assigning Mr. Shavitz's right to the property to a Meridia Development Company, and that was done at the redevelopment agency.
So it's Meridia.
Mhm.
Is the developer or the owner now?
I don't know who the owner of record is. The redeveloper, that was the conditional redeveloper that was named, and this was reported at a prior council meeting, conditional redeveloper that was named is a Capadagli company.
Conditional redeveloper, is that for everything in Garfield?
I'm
Is
sorry?
that all right, the conditional redeveloper by the redevelopment authority, is that for the entire city? Is that for
No,
just
that's
those
not for the
two
entire
buildings
city.
that?
That is only for the Kalama property. The Kalama property, just for the benefit of the public, the Kalama property has been obviously laying there for something like 30 years. So unfortunately, Mark Shavitz, who hung in with the redevelopment agency for a very, very long time and who tried to redevelop, could not redevelop the way the plan as designed was proposed. He tried and tried and tried. He ultimately made a decision to sell his contract to someone else, his right to purchase. So one of the things that's making it very difficult now is that FEMA has determined that almost 2/3 of this property is now in a flood zone. So that makes redevelopment of this area particularly challenging. We're lucky somebody's interested in it.
Okay, we have a roll call. Councilmember Aloya.
Abstain.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
I have just 2 points. I remember when we picked a redevelopment, a developer back when, many years ago, and we say that the plan is outdated. I'm not sure what was on that plan. I don't even know if it went that far. I just know that we designated a developer. He paid money to the city back then, to the tune of about, I believe it was about $50,000. So when we say these things, I just don't have enough recollection to know what was on the plan or if a plan was even done correctly. So I would like to have more information on this, so I'm going to abstain.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
The fact of the matter that the property's been laying vacant for 30 years and we have nothing going on there you're absolutely right. Mark Shaver's tried everything possible to develop that, but it was the owner of the property who put a deed restriction on it that stopped a lot of development. And then the owner of the property still has that deed restriction on it. Mark Shavers, I guess, felt it wasn't in his best interest. So instead of leaving it vacant for another 30 years, I think it's in our best interest that we do move forward in trying to get it developed. It's been vacant, it's been being cleaned up, and it's a real eyesore. Anybody goes on River Drive or Monroe Street, there's not one person in the city that doesn't think that property should be redeveloped. And this is the first step in doing it. I vote aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Yeah, I think the property owner was United Technology, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that they stated that you can't put any residential on that piece of property?
That is correct.
So no matter who owns it now, there won't be any residential on that property. You know, for someone to actually purchase a contaminated property in a flood zone is, you know, a risk taker in my eyes. So if anybody could do anything, it'd be much appreciated by the city of Garfield. I vote aye.
Okay, we have 3 ayes, 2 abstentions. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, before we proceed further with resolutions, we overlooked the approval of the reports of the Cabinet as presented orally and in writing during the work session held earlier this evening, so. I
I'll
don't know
make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Arundellini, seconded by Councilmember Calandrillo. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Arundellini.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 5 ayes. Okay, the next 2 resolutions have 5 signatures on them, so if there's no objection, I'll take 1 roll call vote on those resolutions. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Arundellini.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Are we talking about resolutions 318 and 319 or 317?
317 and 318.
I vote aye.
Okay, 319 is held. And we have a resolution authorizing a contract to D.S. Meyer Enterprises LLC for an emergency sewer repair at 266 Midland Avenue, which is signed by the entire City Council. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Arundellini.
Aye, sorry.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 5 ayes. Proceed with bills and claims.
Please.
Okay, resolved by the City Council of the City of Garfield that the following bills number 2198 to 2200, covering trust other and dog trust fund totaling $16,002.70, and the current fund reserve totaling $100, and the current fund totaling $3,056,949.73, and the water fund totaling $3,975.28, and the general capital fund totaling $1,256,539.97, and the water capital fund totaling $48,453.48 per attached computer list be ordered paid, and the proper officers are hereby authorized to issue checks for same, provided there are funds in the respective appropriations. Be it further resolved that the action of the mayor, city clerk, and city treasurer in issuing checks in payment on the ratification list, which includes 25 items prior to the meeting, be ratified. Bills and claims resolution is offered by council members Calandrillo, Aloya, Arundellini, and Rigoloso. On the roll call on bills and claims, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Arundellini.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 5 ayes. Bills and claims are approved. Proceed with.
Ordinances.
Okay, on first reading, on introduction, we have bond ordinance to amend Section 1 of the bond ordinance, ordinance number 2659, entitled Bond Ordinance to Authorize the Installation of Emergency Generators at Various Public Buildings in, by, and for the City of Garfield in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $262,500 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds adopted on July 23rd, 2013.
On this ordinance?
No, this is no
I'm
public
sorry,
hearing, it's
I'm sorry.
introduction.
I'm sorry.
So, on first reading, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye?
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Arundel.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Abstain.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 abstention. The next ordinance on introduction is an ordinance to fix the salary, wages, and compensation of certain officers and employees of the City of Garfield, Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the collective bargaining agreement with the White Collar Collective Bargaining Unit. And the ordinance is signed by council members Calandrillo, Aloya, Rigoloso, and Arundel. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye?
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Arundel.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Abstain.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 abstention. That concludes our written items for voting at this time. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council.
Sure. Before we open up to citizens and taxpayers, Resolution 319, talking about the cable, Councilwoman Delaney brought some good news. Through some research and diligence, she found, instead of us paying money for Cablevision, she found a way for us to get free Cablevision. So I'm going to let Councilwoman Delaney explain a little to it before we go opening up to taxpayers and residents.
Sure. So as some of you know in the audience, I happen to be the acting clerk in the Borough of Elmwood Park. And in speaking with our contact that has been talking to Mr. Dutch, Mr. Calandrillo, and some other individuals on the Garfield situation, her and I have just been sharing some ideas. And when we were talking about relocating the feed from the high school here, which we thought would be a cheaper solution than installing a new feed, I had asked her why we couldn't do the same process that we have in Elmwood Park, which is free to the Elmwood Park residents and to the borough. And how that works is I myself, the clerk, upload the video through their website, and they have certain slots during the week where their meetings are aired. They have 3 slots during the week where their meetings are televised. Their citizens, if they can't watch it during those times, they could DVR it essentially. If they have the capability of DVR, they could view it on their website. So she had looked into it further. We had conferenced in my contact there, and essentially we could do the same thing here in Garfield. So I obtained an application. I personally filled it out and gave it to Mr. Dutch this evening for him to sign. So we're going that route and going to see how that works out and take it from there. Again, free of cost to the city.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So I figure we'll start that out that way because I know some residents may be here for that issue because that's been a regular issue. At this time, I'm going to open up to citizens and taxpayers' comments. So if you have a question, please come on up. You will have 3 minutes. Unfortunately, we're not going to have, in the past, we always had the residents come back up, sit down, come back up. It's going to be 3 minutes. Please make sure you make your statement within that 3 minutes, and you'll have your questions answered at the end. Anybody would like to come on up? Mr. Malicki.
Dan, is the mic on?
It is.
He's too tall.
Let's raise it higher for Dennis. Got to raise it higher for Dennis.
Again, Dennis Malicki, 54 Maitland Place. At the last council meeting, I asked the council several specific questions regarding the Passaic Street building project. Those questions were completely ignored by the deputy mayor, mayor, and the city manager. You continually state to encourage residents to speak and state their opinions, yet ignore the questions either you don't have the answers to or will affect you adversely. Since the June 11th meeting, when the scale of these buildings were made public, dozens of residents have spoken on record adversely to the size and density of these buildings and how it will affect their daily lives, and have asked to find a better way. Mayor, at that meeting, June 11th, you stated in your meeting summary that this is the first you heard of the size and scope of this project, and clearly stated that those dimensions will be discussed and compromised. So again, at the last meeting, I asked you, has there been any discussion with the residents or suggested compromise to the original application? If the complaints are that these buildings do not fit into the Passaic Street community and cause hardships to its residents, has another developer been consulted? And if not, why? I keep hearing that developers are hard to come by, and I'm not buying that there aren't developers out there that would possibly entertain the thought of much lesser density in buildings. To the enormity of this issue within the town, again, as I did at the last meeting, I suggest a town hall meeting for the purpose of transparency and to answer the questions to the residents so that change may not appear so devastating to the area. Councilman Aloya, Calandrillo, and Councilwoman Delaney have expressed their willingness to hold such a meeting. I ask this governing body to either vote or poll in public their approval for this meeting. And if approved, I suggest we meet next Tuesday at 6 p.m. I would be more than willing to work with any council member of your choice on detail and format of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mulliken. Anybody else would like to come on up, speak?
Dolores Capizzi, 107, no, good. Dolores Capizzi, 107 Midland. We can do this? Okay, thanks. I noticed that on the website, you have a survey for the people to express what their wishes are and their plans for the Passaic Street redevelopment. And I do commend you on that, but there is still a part of our population that is not computer savvy, cannot afford computers, because we might think that everybody has the money, but there are a lot of people who don't have the money to buy computers. And a lot of the older people still have flip phones. So in an effort to reach all of our citizens, I would like to request that in addition to this survey, which is a good thing, the results of those surveys be made public without being edited, and we have a town hall for everyone to come on record, including the people who cannot technically complete that survey. And I think that gathering ideas is one thing, but having an exchange of a physical exchange of communication. Sometimes people don't have the ability to express what they really mean in writing, but yet they can communicate it verbally much better. So in an effort that everyone is part of the community and included, I would request a town hall, maybe even something in connection with what Mr. Malicki had just suggested. But we would have to publicize it and make sure that we take that extra mile, whether we even get a Garfield City bus to bring citizens that maybe live in some of the projects or at the senior centers, so that we can all come together as a community and really strike a vision that would service everyone. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come up and speak? Ma'am, please.
My name is Cynthia Hughes Ranieri, and I'm a taxpayer at 14 William Street. I'm here regarding the commuter area parking on Harding Road, Henrietta Street, William Street, Alaska Street, Union Ave, and Hartman Ave, daytime parking tags. I've emailed the council 3 times and included Mr. Dutton, let you know twice, and I've not had any resolution to my concerns. We were issued tags in 2016 when it was required for homeowners and residents on William Street to indicate that they were either a resident or a visitor of a property. This year, when new tags were issued, we went to the police station with proof of ownership to receive new tags, and we were informed that we wouldn't be able to use the old ones any longer and that we would not receive replacements. We would not be able to park on the street where we own a 2-family home and we rent it out to tenants. We feel that homeowners and residents should not be controlled in this way, nor should they be punished by only being able to have a certain amount of visitors over at any given time. Family members of residents are getting tickets for not going into the home to get a tag to put on their rearview mirror while visiting, which they're expected to do, and then they have to go outside and return the tag back to the house, hopefully not forgetting when their visit's over. How many times have visitors forgotten to bring the tag back into the house? We've received tickets on William Street as well when we were at our house to maintain our property. How are the homeowners on these streets supposed to remove snow, garbage, take care of the landscaping, maintain the property, show an apartment to prospective tenants if we can't even have permission to park there during the day, or if we have to park 3 hours away? You certainly can't expect elderly homeowners to go outside to retrieve the tag when a guest is leaving. You also have not thought about elderly visitors who risk falling, as it is just doing a simple task, going into a house, getting a visitor tag, coming outside, going back in the car, putting it in the car, and then you got to worry about getting it back into the house when you leave. It's very inconvenient, controlling, and physically punishing visitors who are subjected to this. The issuance of these tags is causing a hardship. Our families have been a part of this community for over 60 years, and we keep our properties pristine, well-maintained, and for some reason it's a big problem for us to receive tags to replace the ones that we already had to be able to continue to take care of our property. We feel that this should have been just a 4-hour parking on the street, which in many communities solves the problem of commuters. You can't go to the city and park a car for 4 hours and then be back from the city. Commuters aren't going to park in 4-hour parking areas. So I would request that it be changed from this tag system to 4-hour parking from 6 to 6. I have a list of questions that I could give to you. My questions are: why are landowners, homeowners, taxpayers, residents discriminated against over this commuter parking area? Why were we given tags in 2016 without a problem? Now it's a problem. Can these tags that tenants and residents have be sold for a monthly fee to commuters? I don't know how you know that that's not happening. How are property owners expected to maintain their properties if they can't even park the car in front of the street on the house that they own? What does parking in front of your property have to do with commuter parking? What happens if someone's terminally ill? Do people have to worry about people not being able to park outside of their residence? And is the city going to lower taxes of homeowners on these streets for the inconvenience that we have?
Thank you, Cynthia. Anyone else would like to come up and speak?
Hello. My name is Elaine Giardino. I live at 109 Marcellus Place. There are 5 wards in Garfield, and a member of my family have lived and live in all 5 wards since before the last century, before Garfield was Garfield. And there are many people who have come to Garfield since then and care about our city. We all need a voice in what is being planned here in Garfield. We are all affected by your ideas and what decisions might be made for redevelopment in Garfield. On multiple occasions and in writing, you've promised to listen and that there would be compromises made regarding proposed redevelopment in our city. The time is here, the time is now. It's time to address the citizens of Garfield and our questions about appropriate redevelopment. In a give and take discussion, with us. In a televised town hall at a time more citizens can attend, maybe 6 p.m., no later than October 22nd. Televised for all citizens to access, review, and respond to before any vote is made by the planning board. The suggested high-density 5- and 6-story project on Passaic Street must not go further until everyone has a voice. We want a town hall scheduled now, a citywide event with robocall, reminder, and news article announcement by the city so that all residents know that they are invited to be there. And you can make it as welcoming as you wish to make it, but we need a voice. Redevelopment is happening all over our city, not just on Passaic Street. Many of the people here are affected by Passaic Street because we live right there. I live right there. But that's not the only place that this is going on. And we all need a say in how redevelopment is done. We would like to see redevelopment in a very appropriate and responsible way that is not a detriment to the people who live around it or the rest of the people in Garfield. And I understand that you want to respect all of the citizens of Garfield. Whether you live in Garfield or not is not the point. If you have a heart that belongs here in Garfield, and many of the people here do, if you lived here 2 months, or as my family has been here since the late 1800s, or maybe even before that, because that's all I can go back to. We need to do things in a responsible way for the citizens of Garfield. We all need to be heard, and you need to give us that opportunity. And you need to do it very fast, because you are pushing very fast in trying to get this redevelopment done. And I understand dreamers. I understand what you would dream and would like to see happen. But you've got to take into consideration the people who, oh yeah, we can dream about Disneyland, and that's great, but we live here. We want to live where we can see. We don't want what we call skyscrapers next to 1- and 2-story family homes in an area that is zoned no higher than 3 stories. We don't want the density that you've been talking about, the huge number of individuals that will come and rent, and only rent perhaps, and not really care. We want them to care. And we want the buildings that you create, that you work with us, that you plan with, to be safe. Very safe. Not a brick facade on the side that everybody sees, and then toothpicks to hold up the rest of the building. We want to know that those buildings are safe, and that our homes and our businesses around those buildings are safe. And that when handicapped individuals come to those buildings, they have wide enough sidewalks and wide enough parking spaces to be able to get in and out of those buildings, should they decide to live there, which I hope they do. There are a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration, and these are my concerns. There are many citizens here in the city of Garfield, and you need to hear from all of them. Some of them will disagree with me. That's fine. But you need to hear from us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come up and speak?
Bill Polcari, 5 Maitland Place. I think the idea of a City Hall meeting is very good. There needs to be more communication between the council, the citizens. There's big issues facing the city, and we need that communication. It's got to be more than 3 minutes at a time, or at a time when it's more convenient for more people, because it affects everybody in the city. That's it.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else would like to come up and speak?
My name is Joan Banez. I'm at 20 Hepworth Place in Garfield. I'm also requesting a town hall meeting before the planning board vote. the importance and magnitude of this redevelopment, of the redevelopment plans for Passaic Street, and how these first two buildings will be setting a precedent for what is to come. And if they are six-story building, then that means there's going to be six-story buildings straight down Passaic Street. And this will affect quality of life for the residents in and around that area and all of Garfield. I feel that a town hall meeting is absolutely necessary in order to inform the public about your redevelopment plans and to give the city an opportunity to voice, the citizens an opportunity to voice their concerns and opinions before the planning board vote. We were told this will be a time, you'll have adequate time to voice your opinions and we will work with you. Well, the planning board meeting vote is happening now and we don't see anyone listening. That's where the compromises were supposed to take place. It's the city's responsibility to inform the public and to be transparent, and we're seeing less and less of it. In the letter to the people in the surrounding area, I think it's 200 or 250 feet diameter, which I'm not sure if everyone had received the letter. The developer is requesting over 10 variances to his redevelopment plan. The redevelopment plan was presented and voted on, and he is now asking for over 10 variances, which need to be examined. And I really definitely feel town hall meeting is your responsibility, Mayor, to show your transparency and to show your information to reach out to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else?
Ed Devine, 159 Market Street. I wrote a little note here. I'm not here tonight to air any grievance concerning the redevelopment project proposed for the southwest section of Garfield because, to be quite honest, I have no grievance with the project in its present form. I live in the northeast section of the city, and from what I can tell, would be minimally affected. My only concern is the possibility that this housing turns into Aspen Place East, which for those who don't know Passaic is the crime-infested public housing complex off of Passaic Street in the shadow of Route 21. I pray this does not happen. If lack of interest in $2,000 single-bedroom apartments forces ownership to go the Section 8 route, we're doomed. I truly hope the proponents of this plan know what they're doing. I am here tonight to support the residents of this area whose neighborhood will be irreversibly changed because I don't believe they've been given ample opportunity to have their concerns addressed by the council. Some on the council may say area residents have been voicing their concerns at council meetings for months, and they would be 100% correct about voicing. Dogs bark, owls screech, and as we all know here in Garfield, cats meow. Resident residents, they voice, but it seems to me as if they aren't heard. This is a far cry from exchanging ideas or concerns. In fact, this is a far cry from the way things should be. The current meeting format does not allow for the exchange of ideas or concerns. The council adheres to the line from the old song, take what you need and leave the rest. And then the gavel hits the table. I'm not here to discuss a change to the current council meeting format. That's for another day. Tonight, I'm asking the council to agree to sit down with the taxpayers who will be most affected by this project. Those whose neighborhood, for better or for worse, will be changed forever. Hear them out and address their concerns. Allow them to ask a question. Give them an answer and hear their response. Allow them to follow up on your response with a response of their own. Do a 180 from the way these meetings are run for just a few hours. How bad could it be? Surely you're not intimidated by 20 or so residents asking a few questions. What's wrong with a little give and take? Speak to these concerned folks, not at them. Don't you feel you owe it to these taxpayers who have lived in this neighborhood for decades? Leave the gavel and the egg timer behind for a few hours. Man up and convince the folks whose lives you are changing that it will be for the better. It's just common decency. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to come up and speak?
Lori Calvert, 54 Belmont Avenue, Garfield. I agree with everybody. I think a town hall meeting is an excellent idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I see your hands, James. James?
James Farias, 58 Somerset Street, Garfield. I agree we should have another Town's Hall meeting before you vote. And I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of people that are really not in favor. They're in favor of, yes, let's go forward, let's build, let's fix up Passaic Street, but not to go 6 stories and make this another Passaic or a Hoboken or another Hackensack. I think going 6 stories is the wrong way to go, and I think we need, and I'm in favor of everybody here that has spoken out and wants to speak out, and for those that cannot be here tonight, I vote for another Town's Hall meeting to resolve some of this. We don't even have to do any of this if you only would agree on 3 stories or 4 stories. We wouldn't have to have any of this. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Ms. Ramey, Mayor.
I don't have anything prepared to say, but, I mean, you're hearing the residents tonight, the same way you heard other residents complain about cats. And you gave them the time to listen to what they had to say. You gave us the time tonight to listen to what we had to say. And the answer to that, why couldn't you have a town hall meeting? Call a meeting and let them at least air their concerns. You never know, sometimes through dialogue, good things can happen. Mayor, you're the leader. You're the one that can call this. This is on your shoulders. And you really should make the suggestion to the rest of the council, have a meeting, listen to the residents, let them feel that you are transparent. It doesn't affect me where I live, but where I work it does. I'm at number 10 School Often. There's no parking there. I think that's a concern. Maybe that's something you may want to look into. I'm starting to get a little leery, though. I think I told you at the last meeting that Meridian had spoken to a friend of mine and said, there's a lot of money to be made in Garfield. There's going to be a lot of redevelopment. And I asked the question the last meeting, what are his plans? What's your vision? Nobody answered me. I know this is on the table to be redeveloped, but what else is going to be redeveloped down there? Is there a plan to do more buildings down there? Is there a plan maybe to do municipal parking, which is something that would be great? And it was always my understanding when I sat on there that we were going to make that our Main Street. Main Street USA, it was going to be maybe with some outside tables and an area not like Ridgewood, but something on that style. It seems like things have changed. That area is too populated. I think they're really making a mistake, and I think at the very least, give them a chance to really voice their concerns and discuss with you what your plans are. And Mayor, it's up to you. You're the leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Anyone else would like to come up and speak? I see no hands. At this time, I'm going to open up before I open up the council comment. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't see you.
I'm Ana Diaz, 109 Marcellus Place. I'm here to talk about the building in in Passaic Street, and I would like really to know, that you can
So you can
answer
show
for us
Ms.
and to
Diaz.
request a town hall meeting for the city. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what was your first name?
Anna Diaz.
And your address on, yeah, but what number? Okay, thanks.
Anyone else would like to come up and speak? Okay, I see no hands at this time. Before I open up the council comments, Mr. Dutch, can you go over some of the...
Yeah, a couple of comments since I was mentioned a couple of times. In terms of the website survey, for those residents who were not here at a past meeting, we have obtained a Neighborhood Preservation Program grant. This program has worked very, very well in other communities where they have taken advantage of the opportunity. This survey is the beginning of the process, okay? The survey, we encourage all residents, please go online, please check it out. The plan is to get the surveys out around different places around town in writing so that people can submit them in writing. The surveys will be handled by Greater Bergen Community Action Corp. You know, you asked Dolores that they not be edited. They can't be edited, all right? We can lose a grant, all right? And we're not going to lose the grant, Dolores, all right? It's $125,000 this year. If we do this right, we get $100,000 a year for the next 4 years. That's a substantial improvement. Mayor Raymond, you talked about Main Street, USA. That's what this grant is for. This grant is to try to, should we do a facade improvement program on Passaic Street? Can we use some of this money for grants for facade improvements? Can we use it as seed money to start facade improvements? Can we use it to have a spring festival where you shut Passaic Street and you put out tables and chairs and you try to attract people to the area? That's what this grant program is all about. So that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. I'm very proud of that. Cindy Ranieri, you stood up and you talked about a bunch of issues. Just so Mayor Rigoloso and Councilwoman Delaney weren't here when this first started. When we built the new train station, we had an issue in the neighborhood. The neighbors came to meetings, they were upset. There were many, many, many more neighbors here than are at this meeting this evening. We had 2 separate hearings on the process, and the tag program that resulted was a result of all of those 2 hearings that were held and recommendations from our police department. I will, however, take all your questions and bring them to Lieutenant Marsh, and we will get an answer to you next week from our Traffic Bureau on these questions. But that was the outgrowth of a considerable public outreach. In terms of redevelopment, just a statement that I would make, and that's the redevelopment that we have so far, we have worked very hard on. I think that the redevelopment that has taken place so far has been exceptional, and it's taken place through a combination of efforts of different administrations, different redevelopment agency members, et cetera. Redevelopment is not an evil word. Redevelopment is a word that is very, very important. It is something that needs to be done. Yes, it needs to be done correctly. If it's done correctly, we have something that few towns in the state have. We have a second train station. A second train station is like an economic engine. Right now, that second train station is not being utilized the way it can be. The first train station is amazing. It's absolutely incredible. The first train station, though, is located in an area of 1- and 2-family residents that are pretty much stable, people who have been there for a very long time. In the Passaic Street area, the Passaic Street area needs some help. And we've talked before about other grants that we have gotten. We have some other projects that are underway. We have a Passaic Street streetscape, which we expect to build next year. So we are mindful of the needs of that area. I'm sorry, I'm done. 3 minutes. 3 minutes, I'm done. Thank you.
I got a message.
My 3 minutes is up. Thank you.
You done?
I'm done.
Okay. Councilman, lawyer.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of minor things. First, the police station. The name Garfield Police, could we see it? The awning is in front of it. We brought this up.
Yeah, no, as I reported at a prior council meeting, when I drove
when
by...
are we opening the police
When I
station?
drove by, I was like flabbergasted
I know
with
you
the
were.
signage.
You did
All
not
right?
build the awning, Mr. Dutch.
So,
I know that.
all right.
But
I just want the public to know.
even the mayor Mayor Raymond can attest, I'm still waiting to see what town I work in. Can't we have a sign over there, Mayor, that says City of Garfield? That would be so nice.
The first I heard about it. We could get someone to paint it.
Just plastic letters, no problem. It'd be nice. With regard to the far more important issues, the development on Passaic Street, Mayor, advertise the planning board meetings where all the council can attend, because if you have more than 3 council people, it becomes an official meeting. So advertise that, invite us all, we'll all be there for the planning board. We know the schedule of planning board meetings. It's worthy of having an additional conversation before any decisions get made. And what I mean by that, as an example, I'm all in favor of doing Monroe Street. What I'm finding hard to vote for and understand is, and I respect our learned attorney giving me a 2-minute answer on a 30-year problem, but why would someone buy the property if he didn't know what the plan was going to be for the property? I wouldn't buy something and say, I'll buy something and I don't know what you're going to let me build on it. I thought it was much the opposite, where the planning board would hash out with the public, have citizens here, not elected officials, have other citizens that sit on the planning board, hash it out and say, this is kind of what we think maybe. And then you put it out there, and then somebody comes up and says, well, maybe I can help you with that. Or it's worth it for me as a developer, I make money by doing that. Here, we sold the property, allegedly, from one developer to another developer, and then in turn, we're now going to discuss what could go there. I just wasn't satisfied with that as an answer. I think that the tracks on Monroe Street need to be addressed. I mean, the bridge that comes across from Passaic, the railroad tracks, we've discussed it. I respectfully joked with Deputy Mayor Delaney because his observation was correct. We should gate it off. No one should be able to walk across the railroad track bridge. It's unsafe, it creates another hassle, another level of exposure for the town. It was great when they used the tracks because it gave us maybe some notoriety. We had to control it, we had to ask them to have enough people to watch the train go down the track. That's all gone, it's all over. Now it's a hazard. Now we've got abandoned tracks that no one is caring for in the middle of a street by a most valuable piece of redevelopment land. And I recognize that, Mayor. It would make sense. To the fact of the Cablevision, Erin, good job. If we can get it for no cost to our citizens, I think that's great. I'm all in support of that. I think that's something we need to review sometime down the road to make sure that it's worth it. Because, and I don't mean to be arrogant or ignorant, but $10,000 when you're running a $2 billion business called the City of Garfield, I think our taxpayers are worth the investment to know everything we're doing at all times on all forms of media, whether it be cable vision, computer vision, whatever form that we can communicate. I think people need to know what it is we're doing. The only thing I do ask is October 15th. I can't be there. It's my daughter's gala at the hospital, and I'm going to the gala. She's all excited. I'm getting her dressed, Dennis, so I can't do October 15th for your meeting. But any other meeting night, Mayor, I'll be there. Planning board is where it should be. We should advertise it as an open public meeting so all council people can be present. We can put it on it's already a known meeting. I think it's worthy of having it, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Councilman Caneggino.
Yes, first I'm going to start, Mrs. Ranieri. I think we need to revisit this. Mr. Dutch, as far as the tags, I think we need to revisit this. We talked in our work session about paving the back of the American Legion and the VFW lot, and for the American Legion to be used for commuting and also being given to the VFW at night for their events. Maybe this is the right time. If there's going to be more parking for commuters, maybe we need to revisit this. So it's not, we talk about quality of life. Actually, it seems like it's just the opposite for those people that own property. So we have to do something there. We can't just, and I appreciate your emails you've been sending. I know this is not just an issue you've been talking about this evening. This has been going on for quite some time. But I think we have to revisit this. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's do our best to get it right so they can have some type of relief. Dennis, I am in favor of this meeting. I think it's long overdue, but what I'm fearful of is that to derail and change these plans, it's the three people up here that decide that, along with the planning board. The planning board is led by the council representatives. So if we're not getting the reaction at our meeting, what makes us think that it's going to be different on the planning board level? I attended the planning board meeting. To my surprise, I got a copy of the application. They're looking for 11 variances. So first they have a redevelopment study and plan, which rewrites the zoning for that particular two properties. So once it's rewritten, and there's such leniency, they still need relief on these things. I went to the engineer, and one of Mr. Boswell's representatives, I said, how could there be variances on a redevelopment project? And that's basically the way it was explained to me. Am I wrong, Mr. Boswell? If there's variances, and I have a notice here, there's 11 variances that are requested, and then it says, in addition, variances, relief waivers, design exceptions, and/or checklist submissions, waivers as they may be required and granted, as well as other relief as the board may seem appropriate. So are they getting 2 bites of the apple here?
Any variances that they're requesting just means that the plans that they just submitted do not directly conform with the ordinance that was adopted.
And the ordinance that was adopted by the redevelopment agency, correct?
Yes.
All right, and it was written by a planner
Yes.
specifically for this project.
Well, it was written by the planner, it was reviewed by the redevelopment agency and adopted, yes.
So I mean, just to give us, the public, a sample of this, maximum building coverage allowed, 90%, and it's being proposed 98.8 to 99%. Maximum impervious coverage allowed, 98%. They're asking for 100%. This is, in my opinion, I've served on the planning board 12 years. I served on the redevelopment agency 12 years. This is probably the worst, and it's only halfway through. They had professionals testify, and the professionals that testified, it's actually going to its second night, which I would like to tell the public. It's the 24th of October at 6 o'clock. So if anybody wants to make that meeting, I think it's so important. But they're looking for relief on something that was designed basically for them, and they're still not satisfied. All the parking's not going to be under one building. They're going to have parking under the other building because there's no room. They're closing the driveway down a foot. The parking spots are smaller. This is a horrible, horrible application. And everybody, I know we say it doesn't affect where I live, but this is the beginning of the future. This is the start of what's going to happen in other. Remember one thing. This council voted to make the entire city eligible for redevelopment, a redevelopment area. So the excuse of it may not affect us, well, guess what? Our city, it affects us all. So this is something that, you know, only the people up here could change this course. And it can only change it. It's been talked about. Well, we'll get to it. Parking will come. All these things. But guess what? I don't see it coming. I don't see no compromise. I don't see not one change from the 105 units. It's going to be a disaster. And quality of life, the residents over there, maybe your property values may boost. They may rise. You may be able to sell for a decent dollar. But Garfield is going to change. And you know what? The train station is important, but we can't sell the integrity of the entire ward for the train station. You know, if you put 25 apartments rather than 100, you know what? Maybe it makes sense on both sides, 25 and 25. There is compromise. And we know, Mr. Dutch, the word redevelopment's not a bad word, because we have been doing this redevelopment correctly over the last, since 2000. So we know that for the last 19 years, we've been doing it responsibly. We've been bringing in great money, and I've asked, I really want to know in writing what this developer is doing for the community. You know, we get payments on these projects, the city does, $2.8 million for the police station, $750,000 from Vornado for the city. You know what? I want to know what this guy's doing, because he's got the key to the city. He's the developer here. He's buying property at other sites. He had a building in 9 months, no water meter. You know what? This is trouble. And that meeting is well-deserved, and I don't know if we could settle all the problems with this in one meeting, Dennis. We may need multiple meetings, but we're coming at the end of the clock. The 24th is when this is going to be voted on. I also want to say one thing, too. At the last meeting, there was an ordinance about one parking spot for these people that rent here, and otherwise you can't park on the street. Now, it was said that myself and Mr. Aloya supported on the first reading, stated by our councilwoman, Erin Delaney. That wasn't true. I have the vote right here. We voted against on the first reading. We never supported it. I said at the meeting, I said, I'm not in support. You could change the date, but I'm not supporting this. Because it's, to me, how you solve the problem is reduce the density. That's the only way you're going to solve the problem. And I even said to the mayor, I said, Mayor, the only way you solve the problem is by not creating the problem. So there's some issues here, and the future of the city is I really have some great concerns here. But we have the power. We have the power up here, the city council, the majority of the city council, to do this right. You'll be recognized for many years for, you know what, you listen to the people, you change things, it came out nice. But that I have not seen up here. As far as, let's see, we got the tags. Oh, the cable. I asked for the resolution for Cablevision, and I pulled the resolution. I didn't sign it because I did get word from Marilyn Davis as to what the plan was. It sounds like it's, at least we're getting Cablevision on our station. It would be a community station to be shared with other municipalities. Channel 76 on Cablevision. It won't be on like we have Verizon, where we could do a lot of other things on Verizon. We could put the St. Stan's Parade on Verizon. We could do a lot of things. That won't be available with this, but for now, I'll live with it. But what the sad thing is, we denied all our Cablevision viewers the right to see what goes on, especially all the heated meetings for this redevelopment. We denied them that. When I say we, the city, not me personally, not Lou personally, but the three. So they couldn't see what was going on. Because this thing with Elmwood Park is only, they're going to put the one meeting on. They're not going back for other meetings. So that would have to be done by our website. So these are my concerns. Let's see, where was I? It was also said, Deputy Mayor, of antagonistic. I will just say one thing. I have no ill will towards anybody on this council, but I bring up issues. The antagonism is from the Deputy Mayor when he brings up deceased council persons over 20, in the grave 20 years, and he's bringing that up at a meeting. So that's where the antagonism comes from, not from this guy. I strictly go by the issues. And I think I've pretty much, the report I've asked Mr. Dutch for on the water meter for Sketchley, and also the water meter on Signature Place. Mr. Dutch, you have assured me the report is in the working, and I'm going to be receiving that in the near future.
Yes,
Correct.
multiple department heads are involved, as we have discussed at prior meetings. I am getting input from the various department heads. But for the benefit of the public, the meter is installed. The meter, we found out about this on August 30th. That was the Friday before Labor Day weekend. On Tuesday morning, I came in, met with all of the department heads. On Wednesday at 12:30, Willard, our water superintendent, met with Passaic Valley Water Commission and remained on scene until the water meter was installed. Mr. Bierwas is seeing to the proper billing, the back billing of the application. So that's done.
All right, thank you. I had also asked our city attorney if there's been any conflicts on any of the boards, being that there's a relationship with Greater Bergen with free rent, and we have Board of Education employees voting on these applications, and he has said that he cannot give me an opinion. It's not his position to go to the state. So I have reached out to the prospective boards, as you have also, Bob, right?
That's not exactly what I said.
All right, please clarify.
Okay, I didn't say it wasn't my position to go to the state. I said that the state advisory board is there. For instance, if you thought you had a conflict, you could write to the board and ask them, do I have a conflict under these circumstances? So I don't have the ability to run on your behalf to the state and ask.
No, that's exactly how you did explain it.
And also, I did refer it to the various boards at your concern, and I sent an email to them. I sent you a copy of that email, and so that was sent forth to them.
Right, and I also sent them.
They are autonomous bodies, and they have their own counsel, and they need to deal.
And I just want to make sure that the city is clear of any conflicts, since the Board of Ed is getting free rent from the same company that is now receiving the benefit of 6 stories of apartments. So I see that as being, I want some clarity on it. That's all I could say at this time. And with that, with the street fair was very nice. I went early. We had a junior Boilermaker game later on. When I was there, it was done very well. The events committee did an outstanding job. A lot of people were enjoying it. So that was, thank you to our events committee, and looking forward to more items coming up. Thank you very much.
Before Councilwoman Delaney speaks, I'd like to ask Bob a question. Bob, are we, they're talking about the redevelop, they're talking about the planning board and everything. Are we allowed to listen or discuss anything?
You and Councilwoman Delaney, as members of the planning board, those applications need to be considered before you comment on them. You need to hear all the testimony. You need to hear what's before you come up with an opinion. So there is no opinion to discuss at this point, because you cannot have formed an opinion until all the evidence is in and you can make a vote. For you to comment at this time on the application before the planning board is improper. If anyone in the audience has any concern about what's going on before that planning board, I respectfully invite them all to attend and voice their concerns before the restraining order. If as Councilman Calandrillo has stated, and I'm sure it's true, that there's 10 variances, well, then they need to speak about why those 10 variances shouldn't be, all or any of them, or 1 or 10 of them should not be granted, or any of their other concerns about the plan. But to have that discussion from you or Councilwoman Delaney this evening is not proper.
Thank you, Councilwoman Delaney.
Thank you, Mayor. Just quickly to address Mr. Calandrillo, if I did say at the previous meeting that both you and Councilman Aloya supported the ordinance on first reading, I apologize, because that would have been incorrect. However, for those that weren't in attendance the last few meetings, the ordinance that I had proposed wasn't regarding 1 parking spots. Hearing at council meetings in regards to this project, which I know I can't comment on, but just in general as a whole within the city, is that parking is an issue. So an ordinance that I proposed, by first bringing it up in a work session for open discussion and suggestions by the entire council, the attorney, the city manager, then it was brought upon first reading, was an ordinance that would limit parking to new construction here within the city of Garfield with 5 or more units. With where those new construction units are being built, the tenants, whether they're renters or buyers, they would have the understanding based on this ordinance that they would not be administered street parking permits like other residences within the city. Again, some people had concerns, how could we do that? How could we limit someone's parking? This is new construction, so they would know this coming in, that this is an ordinance in place. So it had nothing to do with one specific parking spot and no specific area, whether it be Passaic Street. We have units being built on Monroe. I know that there was an application for units on Semmel Avenue. This would have affected the entire city where, again, any construction with 5 units or more, they would not be given overnight parking permits. So I thought it was a good solution. Other people didn't think so. Upon first reading, we had the date of effect change from January 1st to October 1st. Again, we had some pushback and criticism. Some people actually thought that we were trying to grandfather a certain project in because of the pending planning board meeting that was taking on later that week after October 1st, but that actual vote didn't happen. So this ordinance, if it was passed that night, would have affected this so-called project. With that being said, it got voted down. It's a shame because all of Garfield could have benefited from it. With that being said, the only reason why I gave Cablevision pushback is because I felt, why spend money when we could save money? And, that's exactly what we did when I got involved. I said that I would support the installation of a new feed if we exhausted all other means, and we clearly didn't because we now have a solution. But I do that. I'm very critical with all aspects of the city budget, whether it's $10,000 or not. Just last week, I asked for overtime of city employees. The cost that our events committee has spent thus far for 2019, I did that for 2018. I want to make a comparison. That's just something I do. But I want to thank Councilman Aloya for your appreciation. With that being said, at the last meeting, also I discussed a potential adjustment to our handicap ordinance. There was some concern by a resident in the audience. We had some concern in our work session. At the last meeting, we had 10 handicap applications before us. I'm not saying that they are, trying to beat the system, but certainly there's a possibility where some people are trying to take advantage. So I had asked the attorney to compare it to a similar ordinance in Kearney. So thank you for doing that, and I have a pending meeting next week with Lieutenant Marsh to discuss some of his concerns with the handicap ordinance. So that's to be continued, and I do want to note, because I know that City Manager Dutch mentioned Mrs. Ranieri's questions and bringing them to Lieutenant Marsh. I know that he's out this week. I'm sure you know that as well.
That's why I said we would answer them.
Exactly. So if I could have the answers, and hopefully we'll have a solution to their issue upon his return, because he's definitely an expert when it comes to our parking situation here in Garfield. I know our website was mentioned a few times this evening. I just want to ask that either the clerk or city manager, or someone here in City Hall, double check the extensions, because I've received a few complaints, specifically the clerk's office extensions, that are inaccurate. I don't know how true that is. It's just something that I heard, so if you can do that. With that being said, some announcements of some upcoming things we have going on. We have the Hispanic Gala tomorrow. Congratulations to Mr. Loya and our other honorees. This Friday, I will be partnering up with our Garfield Prevention Coalition and our Youth Epic group to host our Friday Night Lights to Knock Out Opioid Abuse event. The high school football team, which is doing very well this year, has a game at 7 p.m., so we'll be there upon entry with some literature and information for everyone. We also have our pumpkin patch on Saturday, which is a very well-attended event put together by our rec department, and then next week, our PBA dinner. So again, congratulations to those honorees as well. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
First, definitely, when we put the tags on by William Street over there, it was because the residents that came up to and asked us for it. We didn't want to do it. It was the residents that came to the city. So they were the ones who lived in that area who recommended to us about putting that area in the so-called tag order. But if there's a better solution, then so be it. I'm sorry, but that's just the way that I've seen it, whenever it happened. If there's a better solution for it, then sure, we'll look at it. We have no problem. When I did get your email, I did forward it to Tom Dutch that very night, and he said he was going to take a look. So if there is a better way, we'll definitely look at it. All right, but the reason why we did put it was because the residents in that neighborhood had asked for it. My brother lived right on Harding Court, and I know, not that he asked for it because he had the driveway and all that, so it didn't affect him. But that's what I remember about it. It was spoken about the tracks on Monroe Street, sitting on a community block grant, which I have for the past 20 years, I believe. I requested a grant to remove the tracks from Monroe Street, and they will be getting removed, Tom. They didn't give us the grant yet, but they did accept the application, am I right?
Yes, the application before the Federal Surface Transportation Board has just been approved. I have emailed a copy of the decision to all the members of the governing body. That's the application that would allow the abandonment of the railroad tracks in Monroe Street. It can only be done by the federal government. We joined with the city of Passaic in that petition so that they could take the tracks up in Passaic and we could take them up on Monroe Street. That's correct.
So we are getting the tracks removed. With regards to us being transparent, you know what bothers me when we say we're not being transparent enough? I've been sitting up here for many years, and this is the most transparent the city has ever been. We televise every single meeting. You know, for somebody to come up and say, do not edit the survey, that right there, it just puts a stigma out there, like you're trying to do something sneaky, and we're not. We're more transparent now than ever before. So please do not give the assumption that we're not transparent. We are, and we never had transparency like we are now. It was also asked about the redevelopment fees. The developer on Passaic Street has paid already over $300,000 in fees on his project on another part of Garfield. So he is paying fees. That company did pay his fees for that project. So I don't know why it's being brought up that he hasn't, but he has paid his fee on the Walnut Street project. It's redevelopment on Passaic Street. You know, I came down Passaic Street last night, and I got hit at the traffic light with a guy standing there with a cup. You know, then I go to Palisade Ave, there's another guy standing there with a cup, looking for money. Is that, I mean, just that alone, it bothers me. It bothers me when we get defined as being one of the worst places to live in Bergen County. And to do nothing, believe me, we've been talking about redevelopment on Passaic Street for years, and nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking. Please have the courtesy for me.
Please respond to us.
All right, please have the courtesy for me. So it's just, it's not a bad thing. I mean, we have River Drive. I understand that it said smart development, but you know what? Development didn't happen before I became mayor. All right, you had Mr. Calandrillo sitting on the redevelopment board and the planning board. So right now you have the mayor not sitting on both. You know, so you know how much power that gives to one person? The so-called big three over here, we don't have the mayor sitting on the planning board and the redevelopment board. You had more than one council member sitting on the redevelopment board at that time also. So there was a lot of power granted to that redevelopment board back then. A lot more then than it is now, because our mayor didn't sit on the redevelopment board and the planning board. But back when Frank Calandrillo was mayor, he did sit on both. And that gives a lot of power to a certain individual, which could stop a McDonald's from coming in, which could stop Marshall's, which could stop Burlington, which did stop everything coming in before McDonald's came in. All right, so don't say that word.
That's not even factual. Now I can't sit here any longer. He was on the council when we approved the redevelopment plan that put the McDonald's there on the site. We didn't call it McDonald's, we called it a fast food restaurant. Now, at least let's get our stories straight. Mayor, you have always sat on the planning board. Every mayor sits on the planning board. When I was mayor, that is your appointment, to sit on the planning board.
That is why.
Mayor, is it my time to speak, Mayor? So would you please
Councilman Lawyer. Thank you.
The difference is, Joe, since you've been mayor,
The difference is we listen to the people.
All right, the mayor has not said.
Mayor, the difference is we listen to the people.
Easy. It's okay.
Your lies, Joe. Joe, stop with your lies and I'll shut up.
It's okay.
Stop with your lies, Joe.
It's okay. It's okay. Frank, the truth is, Frankie did sit on the planning board and the redevelopment board. It's not a big deal. All right, also.
Mayor, we did it the right way and we listened to the public. And that's why we brag about them. He even brags about that development, even though he had nothing to do with it.
Councilman Delaney?
Okay, Drew, if you can, please, for the next meeting, all right, give us the dates of when McDonald's was built, Marshall's was built. All right?
I don't know how to get those dates straight.
All right? Okay, also, all right, with regards to current, to current events,
I'll find out the CO, I guess.
I have no concern with the town hall at all. It doesn't bother me. All right, I close up. Forget it.
We let all of you talk. We let everyone talk. He was just saying he has no problem with the town hall. I have the same issue at every meeting. You have every chance to come up here and speak. Please give us that opportunity too. We are people just as you are people. There are certain things that the city manager should respond to. There's certain things I was just advised by our borough attorney, our city attorney, to not speak about. I said at the last meeting I was fine with the town hall. Can you please let him finish?
If I can't speak, I'll just close the meeting out. Meeting adjourned. Motion.
I make a motion, Joe.
So moved.
So moved.